Hi, this is Jim Linnell. I'd like to show you a project that I'm currently working on here at Elk Track Studio. I'm doing a cover for a program for the Academy of Western Artists, and one of the things that it will feature is a portrait of Will Rogers. And I'd like to show you some of the details that I've been able to put into a piece of leather and tell you a little bit about how I've been able to do that. As many of you have heard, if you've ever taken a class from me, one of the things I always emphasize is how important proper use of the swivel knife is. And that's especially true when you do a design or a carving that has this kind of detail in it. Little things like making sure that the face is shaped right, the little details, the eyes, the ears, those kinds of things. Having those cut as precisely as possible is very, very important. And one of the other things, if you happen to have caught a video I did on swivel knife finesse, one of the things I showed you how to do was using your swivel knife to create highlights. We did a feather in there where we created some highlights in that feather, and I've used that same technique here on the hair on him. You can see that it looks like there's a highlight running across there, but actually there's no dye or anything that's been put on here yet. This is just the natural burnish of the leather. One of the other things that I've used a lot, in fact I did a video on this too, on using the modeling spoon as your primary carving tool. And most of the details that you see in the face of Will Rogers here is done with the modeling spoon. Having your leather at the proper moisture content is real critical. This is how you get that nice rich burnish to show up that gives you the shadows and the details and those facial textures, those wrinkles and such that make any individual look like the individual that they are. And then a couple other things that would be easy to miss here is I've got some additional depth and shadow in a few of these places. And here I've taken a very small, a very fine backgrounding type tool that left a fine matting texture. And I used that underneath his neck, or underneath his chin, between there and his bandana, and in this area here. And in fact, even in between his fingers here alongside of his cheek and such. So where you see this this shadow almost looking here, this is being created by using a tool with a really fine texture there. So these are some of the tricks that were used to create the detail that you see here. Obviously, making him stand out from the background is done with matting. Again, if you've heard me in any class, you've heard me about getting rid of the halos. When you bevel something fairly deeply around the edges, a lot of times you have a mirrored image showing where the backside of your beveling tool left a mark. Well, I've erased those marks here. I've used a fine matting type tool to mat away from that so that it looks like the figure itself is standing out. Obviously, this is a project that is in progress, and it's not completely done. I still have to finish my floral, put the textures and details into that, and I'll probably do a little bit more tweaking on the face, but I just wanted to show you this project as it was in process so that you can get an idea of how all of those basic techniques that I show in every class and every video that I've done, how they come together when you start doing a design like this. And when you start combining things like your figure carving with floral carving, you start to set yourself apart as a leather craftsman, somebody that's not put into a peg where you only do one kind of leather work. I think it's important that you stretch yourself and try to do these different techniques so that you become a well-rounded craftsman. And that's what every one of us should be trying to do as we progress in our leatherworking skills.